All right, man. What do we got? So, you remind me what's up. The dash ain't working or something?
It's working on and off sporadically. It'll just all of a sudden cut out,
Okay.
stay off.
All of it, or just
the dash.
no? I mean, like the gauges.
Yeah. There's nothing. No tack. No temperature gauge. No oil pressure gauge. Nothing.
Okay. And what about
Doesn't
anything
seem to
else?
stall the motor. Doesn't put a drain on the motor.
Okay.
Now you said there's some kind of sensor in here that could be bad because when I changed that,
Sensor.
the battery light never went off.
Oh, the on the alternators. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You got it's called an L terminal. That's internal of the alternators. But because you've got dash problems, we're not gonna say that the alternator is the issue.
Okay. Now,
As far as that battery light being on, but maybe something else, who knows? We'll find that out.
now I did what I know how to do. That's grounded properly.
Uh-huh.
I don't know how to check this one.
Yeah, that's all right. It's
see if it
PCM controlled.
Yeah, the thing broke.
Yeah, that's all right. There's a rock in it. Yeah, try to put like a zip tie on it or something to hold that in there. All right.
Everything seems to be working.
Well, what about the rest of the stuff on the dash, like radio, all that? Does that work?
All goes out.
All goes out. So the
I don't know
entire.
about the headlights because it never happened at night.
All right. All right. What's going on, everybody? So we are back at it. It is Tuesday, the day after Labor Day. We took yesterday off, so no videos got posted. And right now we are working on an 08 F150. Customer states that the dash will go out and not do anything. He recently put an alternator in it. Not sure if it's connected, but he does get a battery light. So right now, the alternator is putting out about 13.5 volts. And the alternator light intermittently comes on. So if you know anything about these Fords, if you unplug the connector on them, they will typically go into a failsafe and just start putting out about 13.5 volts. Because when it does that, I'll show you in a minute, once I get this to fail again, you can push on that connector because the clip is broke. But you push on that connector and boom, it starts charging back at 14.3, 14.4. So there, we need to fix that connector as best as we can for today, but we should replace it in general. But right now, we're trying to see if we can get any of this stuff to fail on the dash. Right now, everything's working. Sorry, wife. Yeah, battery light is still off at the moment. And it changes? That didn't do nothing. All right, go ahead and push that connector. Battery light just shut off. Voltage going up. As soon as you touched it, the battery light went off.
It went up to 14.3.
14.3? Okay. Let loose of the connector so we can watch it. Let the connector loose. Tell me when it goes to 13.
All over the place right now. It's back down to 13.5.
Okay. Just let it sit for a minute. All right. So, trying to confirm what's going on here. Customer's giving me a hand. Nice guy. He's a repeat customer for us. So we're just watching the dash at the moment. As soon as this light comes back on, okay, battery light's on, right? Right there, battery light. Ugh. So there you go, battery light's on. I am gonna put it back in park. And let's go back out here and watch the multimeter as soon as we touch that connector. So 13.5, And then just a subtle little push back in. And then there you go, 14.3, and the battery light should be off at the moment. But as soon as I let go of that connector, it drops back down. As soon as I let go of the connector, it drops back down to 13.5. It takes a minute for the PCM to not like that, and then it turns that light back on. So I don't know why your gauges would be going out on you, because I haven't had that happen yet. At the moment, we're gonna shut this down and attempt to fix that connector with some zip ties just to try to hold it down, because even though you're putting out enough voltage to keep the car alive, the PCM doesn't like it because the connector's not making good connection. So we're gonna do that first.
What does that wire actually do, man?
So that your alternator is PCM controlled. So you'll have a power on it, and then, or maybe a ground, one or the other. There'll be a sense and a monitor. So the PCM sends out a signal to the alternator, and then it watches the signal back. And then on the red line, if I'm not mistaken, it is power. And then when the PCM sends out that signal to it, the monitor, or the sense wire, it's a certain voltage, and then the alternator sends back something else, and the PCM uses that to determine how much of a drive it wants out of the alternator. But when they come unplugged on a Ford, they will go to 13.5. That's just what they do. It's whatever's built into the to the alternator. It's kind of like one of those, all the alternator's not charging on your way home, and you unplug it and then it starts to charge, get your butt home type of thing, because that means that there's an electrical problem in the car. So we'll see what we can do here to try to snake a zip tie in and try to get that pulled back down.
Is that something that can be replaced?
Yeah, we can replace the pigtail. We can definitely replace the pigtail, and we will. But in the meantime, we're going to do this to see if we get the car to stop failing and start working for you. Let me come on that side.
Yeah.
Might need something else. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get a zip tie.
I was going to super glue the bad boy.
Sometimes you can put a little silicone on it or something, but I don't want to hurt it because we need to be able to get it back off and replace it. Because there's nowhere to get a zip tie in here. Take a look at the connector itself. See if we get it to clip without that little rubber insert for now. Yeah, there you go. Now it clicked. So let's retest now and make sure the alternator's putting out 14, and we'll go from there. All right, yeah, there you go. Now you're at 14. All right. So now we're putting out voltage like we should with it clicked in. So this was it. I just took off the insulation, but we're gonna try to put that back in there with a little bit of Vaseline. Try to get it to stay better. Yeah, there we go. All right,
Is
that's
that
fixed.
a good range?
Yeah. Okay. All right, little Vaseline never hurt.
I have a friend of mine, I keep Vaseline in my Chevy. What the heck?
I get people asking me all the why you got Vaseline in here? It ain't for that. Calm down, man. O-rings and stuff, it's perfect. Electrical connectors like that, because that's all that was. The little seal that's in there for weather, it wouldn't allow it to hit, so it was binding up. So, but now it's clicked on good. We got real good voltage, so. Now we don't need to replace anything prematurely. We don't need to replace that plug and make connections for no reason. Okay, so alternator's charging good now, so the battery light should stop coming on, but now it's a matter of getting the cluster to fail. Chances are, how long did it take while you were driving for it to come on?
He told me 15 minutes down the road on the way to.
So the only thing that I could say is technically you're getting a voltage out of the alternator, but it's too low and the half of the truck don't like it. Because if we lose, this is your PCM, you've got multiple different powers and grounds, right? Let's say we're only dealing with powers right now because of an alternator. If we lose power on 2 of the powers that are being fed out of the 4, we could lose half of our vehicle. But again, that's just a theory at the moment. We're gonna let it run for a little bit here. That way it gets warm. Try to mimic what you've got going on and go from there. Okay, so no battery light. We're back up and running. So just a little bit of Vaseline on the weather strip, and our connector made a real nice, good, firm connection. And now we're putting out 14.3. So we're not getting any voltage drops. We're not getting any problems on the dash, which we weren't in the beginning anyway, except for the battery lights. But again, that probably was happening because they were out putting this thing on the road. We're not putting it on the road right now. I don't have a said reason for it. We will let it run for a little bit longer just to make sure that nothing else happens, but chances are we're going to be fine. Like I said earlier, the Fords, early model Fords, not new Fords, early model Fords, like I'm talking this year 08 down to like 2099, somewhere in there. If you unplug them, the alternator should put out 13.5 volts, and this one does it perfectly because that plug was unplugged. But battery light kept coming on. Why? Because the PCM doesn't see the sense voltage or the monitor voltage coming back from the PCM, so the battery light goes on. When it doesn't see that, it thinks that the car is got no voltage and that it has a dead alternator, but yet we're putting out 13.5 volts. So computer starts getting screwed up, things can start happening. This is what happened. I'm calling it that. I'm calling it because of that connector, and that's what I feel very, very confident in. So again, back to visual inspections. Look at what you're doing. You got a concern, we hooked up multimeter, 13.5 volts. He said he put an alternator in it. Take a second to think about that and say, what possibly could be wrong? And sure enough, we found just a little connector. You know how many people probably would have been like, oh, you need an alternator, and tried to sell another alternator? We don't need that. Don't do that. Don't be that guy. But anyway, visual inspection, it works wonders. I'm telling you guys, just pay attention to what you're touching. So other than that, I'm going to leave this one alone. I'm going to say it's fixed. I'm going to say we're fine because we've got no problem. Headlights on, in gear. Radio technically is on, but I'm going to lower the volume. We even got the high beams on. The AC is on, and no battery light, nothing. So we're going to leave it as is, and we're going to call this one a day. So again, like, subscribe, and we'll talk to you guys later.